All right. So welcome everybody to our military workshop tonight. We have some great panelists for you. We will go ahead and get started. My name is Kelly Coughlin. I am the Senior Career Manager within the Office of Career Services at the Costello College of Business. I am also a military spouse, or maybe former, I don't know. My husband retired from the Navy February 1st. So we have been there and done it and PCS'd all over. And this is our final stop. And now we get to decide where we live, which seems surreal for those of you who have lived the life. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Jacqueline.
Sure. Hi, my name is Jacqueline Beasley. I'm one of the directors in our undergraduate advising office. Military affiliated through family, so have tons of family in the military, but most close is my brother, who's currently a Navy pilot. And I'll pass it to Sophia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sofia Quiroga Paz, and I'm an academic advisor at the Costello College of Business. And I'm really excited that you guys are all here.
All right, and I'm just going to call you out as I see you in the lineup on my screen. So Jimmy, if you want to give us your background.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Jimmy Benoit. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I had joined and commissioned back in 2012. Kind of bounced all over the place. Spent a little bit of time in Africa, in Asia, in the Middle East. Stationed largely out of Fort Hood for many of those years with a 3rd Cavalry Regiment. Deployed overseas in Operation Enduring Freedom. I currently serve as the Vice President of Cybersecurity at PBS, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Jimmy, did you ever get to go to Djibouti?
No, I did not. One day.
That was when you said after my husband was stationed in Djibouti for a while. So every time people say, I'm like, oh, I want to do some Djibouti. Jamie, you're next on my screen here?
Sure. My name's Jamie Holzaffel. I'm an Air Force veteran. I served from 2008 to 2012 as a cryptologic operator and as a tactical support operator. I'm currently a student doing a master's of accounting degree at the Costello School of Business. And I work as a business analyst for a large international manufacturing company that's focused on civil and environmental engineering solutions.
Very cool. Let's see, who else do we have lined up here? Max?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Can you all see me?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Max Savowens. I'm a 2013 Coast Guard Academy grad. Did counter-narcotics operations for a couple of years out of Seattle on the ship. After that, did a couple other things, including supporting U.S. delegations as a Russian linguist and cultural expert. Finished off my career in government acquisitions. Currently, I'm a senior serial entrepreneur. Been doing that for a number of years. I've owned everything from an outdoor skydiving center to laundromats to a variety of other businesses. Currently, my 2 main companies are real estate. So Riga Max, we own just under 200 apartments that we rent out. And then a government contracting firm, we sell over 100,000 different products from 54 warehouses across the nation. And we do supplies and services for the U.S. government here in the DC area. So thank you.
Very cool. So my husband also chose entrepreneurship after his military experience, and he's now in home and auto insurance. So he became a broker.
Awesome.
I might be connecting the two of you. And Ernesto, also known as Royal Caribbean.
So yeah, for those that didn't hear earlier, the Royal Caribbean Group name is from my master's in business analytics at George Mason. So that was the team group name. I guess it's still sticking when anytime I log on with my Gmail account. Long story short, been in the Army for over 25 years. About 10 years of that was active duty. The rest of it's been in the reserves. I'm a colonel now. My day-to-day job, I have been a managing director before for a worldwide conglomerate doing business intelligence. Many forms of it to include risk intelligence. And currently now I'm part of the Geek Squad. I call it the Innovation Modernization Branch within the Intelligence and Security Command known as INSCOM.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and welcome. If we see people join, we'll let them in as we go forward here. But my first question I'm going to pose to the panel, and again, anybody who wants to answer can. We don't have to go in any particular order. But I want to know about making that transition from either military to the corporate world or military to entrepreneurship. How was that transition for you? And I speak from somebody who used to teach the transition classes, like the TAP classes for everybody getting out of the military. So I'm familiar with the process, but I'm so curious to hear how it was from a firsthand perspective. Anybody want to take that one?
Sure.
I was going to say, I'll
Sure.
call on names.
So I should have said earlier, it's Ernesto Clark, but I go by Ernie. So I would always say it didn't matter how much the transition classes I took. The biggest first shock was doing salary negotiation, right? As the military member, translating your skill sets into an actual resume and realizing that you have more work experience than anyone coming out of college, straight out of high school. You actually have reps experience in leadership and also whatever your functional area was, and realizing that, hey, I'm already coming in with greater than 3 to 4 years of actual hands-on experience, and then negotiating that salary and that price point to most benefit you. I struggle with that. That was like my key one that I really struggled with at first. I'll hand it off to everybody else unless you want to talk about the other culture shock I had is it's all about profit and loss and net income.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to hear more about that. Also, too, I know from the Navy perspective, obviously we call it fit reps or whatever, but when you guys are getting out, you know, you have all those nice, wonderful accomplishment statements to help you with your resume and stuff. But you're right, that is a nice way to think about it too, is you are going in with more experience than most, and it's a matter of how does that translate not only into the interview and making it relevant for the job that you're going for, you know. So it's great that you hauled tons of dirt across the desert in wartime conditions, as I would see on fit reps. You know, how does that relate to this business analyst position, and how can we make it relevant? But when you're talking about too, like get into the salary negotiation, that you do kind of have a little more of a bargaining tool there. Jimmy, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I largely agree with Ernie. Yeah, I think just translating things. I know I drafted up my resume and I went through the TAP or that program. And when I got out, I fortunately I had a lot of family members and friends who were out. So I sent my resume around and they were like, what is this? So I got some very honest, candid feedback from them and they helped me tweak things and just again translate some of that military stuff into things that would resonate more with hiring managers and make more sense in corporate America.
Perfect. How about Jamie or Max?
Yeah, I'll throw something in there. I think for me, I started to transition 4 years before actual separation date. I actually did something weird. I took my last tour knowing I'm already getting out, so I took an easier tour to spend time during that tour in the evenings on my transition. So in other words, making sure my businesses are up and running and cash flowing. So by the time I got out, it was a nice, easy transition and I could support my family. So I did something interesting there, but that's because, I was going to bet on myself as an entrepreneur and was never looking for a job or anything like that. I actually never ended up going to TAPS or anything like that. Um, because like I said, I planned it way ahead of time before I was actually going to separate.
All right, Jamie.
Yeah, sure. So I would maybe take it even like a step back further. I actually thought that I had a lot of skills that would translate into the real world, but how they translated, I think it kind of manifested itself very differently, and I had to really kind of step back and like understand that. I didn't have the benefit that Max had of like really knowing what he wanted to do. So for me, it was a lot of trial and error, I would say. But the resiliency that I think I learned in the military really proved very beneficial to me because I had a very difficult transition out.
Was anybody, I know that this wasn't always around, but was anybody that able to take advantage of SkillBridge? or anything like that? No.
We have I have 3 employees actually through SkillBridge right now, and it is a fantastic program. And I tell whoever's listening to this, please take advantage of it. And if your command is telling you you're not eligible or you need to devote more time to the service, don't listen to that. Care about yourself, focus on yourself because you're transitioning out. Make sure you get the full 6 months of that program or whatever you deserve. So that's my opinion on that.
Perfect. Jacqueline, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, sure. So the next question is, how did you identify transferable skills from your military background that helped you succeed in business? I know it sounded like some of you had gotten some suggestions from others around you, but just curious overall, how did you identify those skills?
I can jump in first here. I think, one thing I think a lot of people suffer with, including myself, is imposter syndrome. So honestly, when I was getting out of the military, I kind of discounted a lot of the skills that I had developed in the military, right? I'm always a confident person, but just going into a new place, new environment, new job, new company, new life, it took me a little while to kind of find out that a lot of those skills do transfer, and I could articulate it better many years later. But in the moment, during the transition, I think I discounted what I brought to the table. I think Ernie hit on that, right? Making sure that you're valued and the skills that you're bringing are valued at the right amount as you're getting out. So I think a lot of my insights came kind of in hindsight.
Kind of piggyback off of that a little bit. The military is not a perfect organization, but there's a lot of things in hindsight that like blow my mind that they get right. Like just the logistics of everything and like the standardization of data. Those are things that like companies really struggle with in the private sector, and it's just kind of like handed to you in the military. I would also say the attention to detail that the military teaches you, you're going to be far superior to most of the people you're working with in that department. Your ability to put together tactics like TTPs and stuff like that, and really understand like how the different pieces of a team need to work together to accomplish a common goal. You don't learn that in business school for sure. So yeah, those are just some points that I think might be really important to consider.
Yeah, and like half the battle is how do you articulate well enough like your attention to detail or your ability to standardize data. I think that's half of it. Anybody else for the transferable skills?
Yeah.
I think
Oh, go ahead.
no, please.
No. So what's funny is transferable skills, a lot of it was baptism under fire. Literally, it was like, here I am in the business world, let me have at it. And it was just realizing that, through military experiences to quickly understand that we're critical thinkers, right? All military, doesn't matter whether you're enlisted, warrant officer, through just experiences, you're actually a critical thinker, right? Compared to the civilians that have never had these kind of different trials and tribulations, deployments, even if you were just a logistician and only did one assignment, you have to do critical thinking all the time. The other thing too, you were forced to communicate, right? And I found that communication was one of those things like, wow, I know how to communicate. I know how to tell my boss, hey, this is what I know. And I found myself even comfortable saying, this is what I don't know, but here's what I think and recommend. And that's what sends military members, especially if you get more comfortable speaking, that sets us apart. You were brought up in an environment where you do have the NCOs and officers asking you, hey, what do you think? What do you know? What don't you know? What do you recommend? And that environment it was just so much money when I went in the civilian sector. Max, over to you.
Yeah, anyone?
No, I agree with everybody and what they're saying. Nothing really to add. I think discipline, managerial skills, accountability, and responsibility, the traits that come to my mind right away, right? When hiring a military person, or a military veteran or somebody. I think though a lot of people are at fault when they leave the military thinking that it's an easy transition, they're going to get paid very well. that's not true, right? Like some of it does require specialty skills, but the overall if managerial skills and other things really help if you do have the specialty skills. They kind of go hand in hand.
I'm trying to find my mute button here. So how some of you are sort of touching on this. How do you feel that your like skills and military mindset helped you transition either to corporate or even to like grad school? And yes, my children are yelling in the background, so I'm going to mute myself. But Jimmy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think Max hit it. He said a word, accountability, right? I think veterans have a lot of skills. So you're accountable, you have certain values, you carry yourself a certain way. Ernie had mentioned just speaking. I think a lot of roles in the military, you get in front of a group of people and you have to say something and you have to articulate and project your voice well enough for them to understand and pick up what you're putting down. I think that'll just bring you miles in the corporate world. I think even in grad school, right? So many projects where you have to stand up in front of a large group of strangers and present something, and just having that experience for the military, I think is invaluable both in corporate America and in grad school.
That's a good one. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I know that when my husband was in OCS or boot camp too, that he would lose his voice because you are shouting, all the time and having to speak assertively and all that. Of course, the first night he thought, what did I get myself into? But what a great transferable skill that serves you well in both, grad school and on the corporate side. Jamie?
Yeah, I would just like to add that, I think the military is a really unique organization because it pulls so many different people together from different walks of life, and you learn like how to work with people that probably you wouldn't have had to work with otherwise. And on top of that, I think that, for me, like I didn't really leave my hometown a lot, and I'm from a small town. I became very accustomed and comfortable with like being uncomfortable. And that is something that I think really will serve you well if you can like embrace it in the corporate world and just kind of like go with it and keep pushing to adopt some of the skills that you want in order to achieve your goals. So, yeah, it's just my 2 cents.
I think that's a great point too, because you think of even some of us on the corporate side, especially if you're in like an industry like mine where you tend to attract all the counselor types, right? And so you kind of have this sort of commonality, but really with the military and everybody being in different roles and all that kind of stuff, you are coming from all over, all different backgrounds, which, certainly translates more to the corporate side. Max or Ernie?
Ernie, go ahead.
Okay, that's nice. Just gonna piggyback off of Jimmy on this one. It's the group dynamic skill set, right? Military is just always thrown in the groups, depending on how many years you've done. You've been in so many different group projects. The ability to quickly assess people's strengths and weaknesses. It's like it even worked in grad school. Like, oh God, here goes another group, a bunch of strangers. I don't know who's strong at PowerPoint, who's strong at speaking, who's strong at analytical products, right? It works just like in the corporate world. Not everyone is firing all cylinders. You always have a weak link. You always have a strong link, right? You always hope you have the most excellent of team, but you don't always have that. Sometimes you just get the team you get, and that's what I think the military really sets us apart is you are experienced at working through the group dynamics, even when it's the most challenged group, but it's your group.
Yeah, and certainly comparatively in a much higher stressful situation, uh, on the military side than in grad school. So it must feel like when you go into grad school, like, this is not like in terms of like the group dynamics and whatever, like I have handled so much more than this that, this maybe other people might be nervous who don't come from that background, but maybe you have more of that strength. Max, anything to add on that?
I think there was a lot said there, but maybe thought comes to mind from my time in grad school is punctual and just kind of respect. I mean, there were times when I came into class at 4:30 and I was the only student there, first student there, and everybody else was like 15 minutes late. So I think that skill set a lot, and maybe that's why I got good grades in some classes, because I was just on time. And I think in the military we tend to know that we need to be on time somewhere. So
Absolutely. And I remember when I was teaching those transition classes, that was one of the preconceived notions that people had about military that was a positive in your favor, is they knew that you were going to be punctual. One of the other questions I thought of is kind of what advice would you have for military students who are maybe either contemplating the corporate side of things, or contemplating going to grad school, kind of like, what do you know now that you didn't know then that you might want to share? And Jimmy, just because you're at the top of my screen, I'm going to start with you.
Oh man. All right. Always on the spot.
Right.
Um, just do something. Honestly, I think a lot of people get locked up in analysis paralysis. And now do I do grad school? I'm going to apply for a few jobs. I do a few interviews. You know what? Let me look at some programs again, and I'll see if I just do something. Just make a decision. I think again, a strength of a lot of folks in the military is we can be decisive. So maybe there's not too much analysis paralysis, but you won't go wrong going for a graduate degree. You won't go wrong jumping into a job. You won't go wrong being an entrepreneur. And you can do multiple things at the same time. Get a corporate job and start a side hustle. Go to school and start a side hustle. Be a full-time entrepreneur and go get your graduate degree. Like you can juggle multiple things. And I think that's a skill set lots of folks in the military bring. So you're going to be successful. Just do something.
I love that. I love that not narrow thinking too, that it's not all this or all this, but you can do both. And we certainly see that too as students too, where I have to pick the perfect major. I have to pick the perfect grad program, or my whole future is, down the tubes. And that certainly, as my military husband walks by in the background there, I should call him in here, but that's certainly not the case, right? I mean, you can make any number of decisions that will serve you well, whether it's going corporate and getting some experience, then decided, you know what, maybe I would like to go back for grad school or whatever, or now he's throwing me off here. Or maybe I do want to pick whatever, maybe the MBA program or the MSA program or whatever one. And, either I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but anything will kind of help you and don't get stuck in that, like you're saying, Jimmy, the analysis paralysis. Jamie, anything to add to that?
Sure. I think it's a really good idea to make lists and like really kind of think about what your goals are and then try to figure out a strategy for each one. Like I said, I think it's pretty impressive that Max already knew what he wanted to do. I thought that I was going to go into a family business, and like when that didn't work out, I didn't really have a plan B. So the GI Bill is definitely a gift, and it probably saved my life, to be honest with you, because it really gave me an opportunity in a space where there aren't like real consequences to explore things and get it wrong and figure it out and like talk to people and actually really develop some of the skills that I wanted. Um, but starting with that list and really like having objectives that I wanted to accomplish, I think was a big played a big part in like getting me down the right path.
Okay. Ernie?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Between Jimmy and Jamie, they've already set a great foundation right now. So as I try to nest my way into sage advice on this question, it's I always go back to I still do this as a mentorship program to young captains and majors, right? And it's always about describe how describe how you want to end up. What's the quality of life you want to have, right? As all of us have experienced our journeys on what kind of jobs we wanted to have. What helped me get there, one is definitely do something, right? Jimmy, absolutely, right? Go do it. You'll figure it out. Go do. If you have time to assess, it really is that, where I was going, where Jamie talked about creating lists. Yeah, I knew more what I absolutely never wanted to do. Right. I knew for a fact, I knew these are the programs I will never want to do. Um, just like I also wrote off things like, I don't think I want to go back to be a nuclear physicist, right? So be realistic on what you don't want to do, and then ask yourself what you really want to do. And then when you have those ideas of what you want to do, does it fit the quality of life you want to have? Right? Entrepreneurials have a lot more say in their work schedule. While if you're a branch manager or some kind of division director, you may be working 120-hour work weeks, right? So understanding the quality of life you want to have might help you shape what business decisions or programs you want to go down, which one allows you the most flexibility or autonomy. Um, what my joke I tell everyone is yes, I wanted to do Ernie Scuba School. That was my passion. Love scuba diving. I would love to do Ernie Scuba School. Ernie Scuba School doesn't give me the quality of life I like to have, so I went a different path in life. That's the only thing about it. Definitely approach it from what's the kind of life you want to have and eliminate what you don't want to do. And then things just as you do, you'll figure it out.
I love that. I was going to interject here too, and I'm going to pop it in our chat. There is kind of a cool tool, and it's called My Next Move, and they have one that's specifically for military. And I always find it kind of funny because you can put in your code for military, and it'll give you like similar positions. And it's like, if you did not like what you did, here's what to avoid. It'll give you a whole list of fields you can avoid. But there's also an interest profiler on there, though, that can be really helpful to figure out what you are interested in. It's totally free. Like I said, I'll pop it in the chat here. And then I was just laughing because my husband was a Navy diver, and I feel like that kind of killed the joy of scuba diving for him, because all you do is focus on all the horrendous things that can go wrong. Max, did you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. I took a shotgun approach initially. I actually started so many different, I mean, I won't even call them ventures, but I started different somethings in the beginning, and just a lot of them failed, and then kind of found things that were successful, but made me money, but I wasn't still happy, if that makes sense. Like, that's not what I wanted to do. I saw that it was making me money, and then I slowly siloed it back into what I like, which is real estate. So even though my government contracting firm kind of supports my real estate venture, eventually I want to exit it because I want to fully devote to real estate, right? And so same thing with the grad school program. I actually didn't necessarily rush it either, because I don't like school a lot, but my friends were like, hey, instead of an MBA, try a master's in real estate. You like real estate. It's very going to be a specialty program. You're going to learn and you're going to fill in your knowledge gaps. So I kind of was trying to find a program that would, uh, you know, go along with what I like doing. So, but yeah, for me at first, it was a shotgun approach, try many different things. Okay, which one of them makes money to support the family, and then try to shift solely towards the thing I love. So it's a multi-year process for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that insight too. So I'm actually going to pivot. This is not one of the questions, but just came up after you kind of answered it, Max. I'm curious, for those of you, obviously who went on to grad school, what made you pick that particular program? Jamie, Ernie?
Sure, I can start.
Oh, go Jamie. Yeah.
So I actually first got an MBA at Maryland, and I was kind of just looking for like a very general degree where I could kind of like explore everything there is about business. And I feel like I really got the full gamut thrown at me. But then I had enough GI Bill money to do the MSA program here at George Mason. And I think not only accounting's not really taught heavily in MBA programs, and I kind of saw like a void in the skill set that I wanted to develop, which for sure the program I'm in now is filling and really kind of maybe making me more well-rounded, and able to explore some things outside of like finance and kind of the more traditional MBA things that are taught. So, I mean, that was my experience with exploring graduate school.
Yeah, and Jamie, are you thinking of like total CPA, or what are you thinking of doing with your MSA?
Yeah, so I mean, I am sitting for the CPA. I'm more of a cost accountant. I started actually out of my MBA program as a financial analyst with the Volvo Group, and I was working at their powertrain manufacturing facility, kind of focusing on like supply chain optimization. And so one of the reasons that I chose the program at George Mason was they have a data analytics component to the MSA. So I'm kind of getting both. I'm getting a little bit of the tech stuff that I thought I was kind of weak in, as well as the accounting. And for sure, I think I'm going to sit for the CPA and maybe even a couple of other tests after I graduate.
Very cool. Like you said too, that GI Bill is such a gift. Arnie?
Yeah, so my time at George Mason was the business analytics. It's where we're going, right? It's data's in everything. Data's in everything. The program was great when I got all the orientation to it. It answered exactly what I needed. A little bit of exposure to every single little thing, whether it's marketing, whether it's actually on the accounting side, business management side, operational research one. Data's in everything. So it just filled perfectly with my skill sets of where I am today. I'm still in intelligence, so I still do that. Data's in all that as well. So
Yep. And you
it
can't
was
get away
easy.
from it. Yeah,
Big
can't get away
nesting.
from it now, can you? That's for sure. Max, I know you've sort of already answered the question. Anything to add?
No, nothing comes to mind. I just like I wanted to pursue an MBA earlier in life, and then hearing a lot of feedback of people doing it too early without not knowing what they truly want to do. And I know Jamie says I knew what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but that's just so vague, right? And so for me, I really needed to dial in, what do I truly love? And when I found my passion, which is really real estate, that's when I was like, okay, I could devote 2 years of my time, because 2 years is a lot for a master's program, right? 2 years of my time when you have married with a kid and you have businesses you're running. So 2 years is a lot of time to devote to something that you just don't want to do, right? So I picked very carefully on the real estate program. Which, by the way, I will have to give a shout out for the MREP program at GMU because it is very unique. And I actually was like, well, okay, what I could go to Georgetown, right? Big name school. And then one of my friends was like, Georgetown students were, and I know this is the tangent, but I really do want to make this pitch for the program because it's undervalued in my opinion. At Georgetown, a lot of people study. There's a lot of an online element, and so you work with people from Florida, Utah. But in real estate, it's by submarkets, right? The Mason program, it's all local based. We go to class in person. There's no online classes, so you interact with everyone. All these people are either helping me or assisting me in my deals, or even some of them are investing on my deals. I took 2 exchange classes through Georgetown University. I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Those people are from Utah. I'll never work with them in real estate unless I get so big that I'm now pursuing something in the Utah market. But it's just unrealistic. So highly recommend the George Mason Real Estate Development Program.
And we didn't even plant that. That was he's just on his own. Also kind of cool too that we have the CRE program or the CRE Center, right? So the Center for
Right.
Entrepreneurship, which must be, right up your alley. We have, one final question for you all, and that is, so for the students who are, currently still in the military, going to school at the same time, what would be a way that they could kind of gain maybe some of that corporate experience before they get out, before they graduate, so that they have kind of more eyes wide open? Obviously, experience is the best teacher, right? So what would you recommend personally? And sorry, Jimmy, you're never going to want to be at the top of my screen
All
again.
good. No, all good. I agree with Max, what he said earlier about SkillBridge. That's just an awesome program if you can take advantage of it. I mean, it's just the best. There was another program, American Corporate Partners, I believe, ACP. Am I getting that right? And that was a kind of mentorship program where individuals who transitioned out of the military at some point and went to corporate America mentor transitioning service members. So that was really helpful. I got a couple of different mentors through there that just helped me understand corporate America a little bit better. So aside from those two, yeah, those are probably the two best routes that I can think of.
I'm so glad you bring up ACP. It really is. I mean, they have connections everywhere. I mean, you want to meet with the VP of Wells Fargo, as your mentor, they will, track people down for you and stuff. And if you decide that it's not a good match with your mentor, they will find you somebody else. My husband used ACP as well. Jamie, anything to chime in there?
Well, I don't know about a lot of the transition programs. I mean, I kind of just like got back from a tour and then was out like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months later. Like, I mean, I almost got stop lost actually. So it was just kind of like welcome to the real world for me. But I guess there's a lot of interaction depending on what you do in the military with government contracting and private business. So like if you're involved in like procurement or something like that, I mean, talk to the civilian people that you're working with and like figure out how it works. Um, there's a lot of little things like that that you can do right now that I think will pay big dividends for you later. I feel like if you're in the military, there's a lot of people, whether you're in a program or not, that are just willing to take your phone call or have lunch with you. Um, Take advantage of that. I think you'll be shocked at how much more important like the networking piece is and finding the right people to talk to in order to get the answers that you want. That's hugely important. So I would kind of recommend that, I think.
Ernie?
Awesome. Yeah, my teammates pretty much hit it on the head. Skill Bridge, phenomenal program. ACP, another phenomenal program. I guess the only other thing is it depends on how much time when you've mapped out that you're getting out, right? Are you controlling your PCS moves? So for those that really know that, nope, this is my last term of service, I'm hanging up the hat. Maybe you want a PCS to a place that supports where you're going to do your academic environment if you have that kind of a say. But the current assignment, if you really know you're going out there, don't lose fact of you have so much access to Udemy or other programs to get certifications, right? These are no cost certs that the government, if you sign up for it, they're going to let you do it at no cost, right? So if you know an industry you're going into, get these certs. They're free, they're accessible. Udemy is one. I forget the other one where they allow you access to. But I cannot stress that, that's good enough. And then yeah, just piggybacking off of what's already been said, if you really don't have that much say, then take on an additional duty. Work the books for the unit, do resource management. There's always operations, but that might disrupt your transition out of the military. But it's always there, right? And if not, one of the unique things I sometimes chime in is I tell people, if you've never done force management, force structure, like why an organization is designed the way it's designed, or a ship or aircraft or squadron, get into force management. Why an organization exists? Because when I've worked with industry partners, a lot of times it's, hey, you want to understand why a business exists. Is it for profit, nonprofit? What does it do? Is it a service industry? And understanding the force structure of a business you're applying to lets you have competitive advantage when you're really going into those businesses, and also negotiating salary.
And as a side note to that, we do offer a salary negotiation workshop every semester. So to make sure you sign up for that. I was going to go on a tangent. Yeah, Udemy, Coursera, and then, so many of the certifications you guys can do. I'll do your Six Sigmas for free while you're still in. And then my husband got the PMP for free while he was doing SkillBridge or right before or whatever. So many of those, and I'll pop some of these in the chat as we go along here. So Max?
Yeah, I'm going to keep going with the pointers. Highly recommend you check out the Syracuse IVMF program. My wife got her PMP for free from there. So did I. Undervalued, underused, but so many people don't hear about it. Two, SkillBridge exists for military spouses. right? A lot of people don't actually know that we actually have a military spouse from a government contracting company we hired her through Hiring Our Heroes, who has the grant for the military spouses for skill bridge. So two things. Under the Syracuse IVMF program, there's entrepreneurship programs within that. Well, they'll send you or your spouse. My wife actually went to Jacksonville, Florida for her own entrepreneurship seminar. I think it was a week long. On entrepreneurship, where fully funded by Chase Bank or whoever the sponsors the Syracuse program, but highly recommend those. In terms of gaining more corporate experience, I think while you're in the military, I mean, for me personally, you always ask the question, how can I add value to you? So while you're in the military, for a lot of times you're just useless to somebody in the corporate world. So it's time. Time is your biggest asset, right? So try to help them out, try in any capacity you can, right? On top of gaining all these certifications. Also if you're interested in government contracting, check out Defense Acquisition University. I took a lot of courses on my own time there. They're free. They're fantastic. Raising capital for your entrepreneurship ventures, which is for the people who want to be entrepreneurs. I actually worked in the evenings. I left Coast Guard headquarters as an 03 and then went and worked a night job to raise money for my ventures. So kind of had a weird path there. Same thing while you're in grad school. Try to find time. You could give your time to somebody, right? Try to help them in any way you can. Do things for them for free to gain that experience and knowledge. And a lot of that will go a long way. If you prove your worth, then you could renegotiate a compensation package or whatever. Free internships are not a bad idea if you have the ability to offer that to somebody. A lot of times, like there's people that are way bigger than me that I aspire to be like them. You pay for their lunches, you take them out to lunches, you try to help them in any capacity. For me, for real estate, it's like, okay, I'll run the numbers for you. My mentor was looking for $20 million for a deal. I went and got him $200,000, right? It's like, hey, I can't help you with this deal, but let me put money in your deal so then maybe you could share with me your spreadsheets or how you evaluate your deal. Let me find a way to provide value to you instead of just asking for free. Because a lot of people, I think we just go out there and we're like, hey, can you sit down for me for a coffee for 30 minutes? That's 30 minutes is a lot of time for busy, successful people. So be aware of that. So try to offer something to them. Don't just try to take their time because everybody's asking for their time. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and I appreciate, so I did pop in our chat. That top one is actually Syracuse. That's where my husband went for his PMP as well. And I'm so glad that you brought up Hiring Our Heroes too. That I was a volunteer with them for 7 years, and they have, all these really great fellowships and stuff for military spouses as well. So that was a really great route to go. So I've popped all of that in our chat here. So at this time, I want to open it up for questions. If you want to unmute or if you just want to pop things in our chat here, we do have a few minutes left just in case. Anyone? Let me pull up my chat here. Strong silent types here. Okay, that's fine. Is there, I know that I kind of asked this, but is there anything that any of you wanted to mention that we didn't touch on, advice you wanted to share, anything before we?
If you're going into corporate America, get a LinkedIn. Get your LinkedIn, dust it off, polish it, make it look nice. I think they still offer a year of free LinkedIn Premium for veterans.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, make it look nice.
Yeah, and I don't know if they still did this, but every time we PCS, I, as a spouse, got a free year of LinkedIn Premium, which was pretty fabulous. Sadly, that's expired now. But And do not use your military picture as your headshot, because nothing says you're ready to leave the military behind like a picture of you in your dress blues, right? So, which is what my husband did, and then just like cropped it as close to his face as he could to cut off the uniform. Just get a professional headshot. And they Portraits for Patriots is a really great resource to use if you do need a professional headshot. So we also do them in our office. We have one more event coming up this semester. I think it's May 10th, but I'll email you guys that afterwards. So
I would maybe add, remember to take care of yourself. And I think like when I was in the military, I was just like working out all the time and, kind of living a little bit of a crazy lifestyle. And so it was very shocking for me to get out and then like try to keep up doing some of the same things I was doing. And I had to really step back and like take care of my physical and mental health first before I was able to really move forward with things like the GI Bill and like have the confidence to, ask somebody to have lunch with me and start networking. So I would say just remember that.
yeah, and I would add to that too is kind of goes back to your list making and stuff, but ways to avoid burnout, because in that job search process, they say that looking for a job is a full-time job in itself. And so especially Jamie, as you're talking about, there was like a really short window of transition, and then it was just like, and here you are, figure it all out. So I think that, yeah, taking care of the mental health, having lists, and just, taking care of yourself so that you're not kind of feeling that immediate burnout. And of course, we're here as a resource too. So as many times as you want to meet with us, even after you graduate, we are here for you to discuss or vent about your job search, or just, help you out any way we can. Anyone else have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, this is Ernie. I definitely want to add that it's never a good time. It's never a good time. You can definitely have a bad time going on. So there's definitely bad times to start, but it's never going to be a perfect good time in your life to start, especially post-military service. It's just start. Don't be intimidated. The courses are not that bad. Read a book, have lecture, take a test, or provide product. We already do this. If you're in the military, you've done it for years. It is what it is. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be successful. You'll figure out how to multitask just like you did in the military. It's just never a good time to start. So just start.
I think the best advice I got too was when I was contemplating going back to school for grad school. And I remember lamenting to a friend's mom, and I was like, but I'm going to be X years old when I get done. And she said, you're going to be X years old regardless. So you can be X years old with this degree or without, but either way, you're going to be X years old. And I just thought that was such a good reframing and perspective to have. Max, anything to add? And then I know we have a question.
No, I'm all set. I think get out there and get after it. You know, proofs for a lot of people, military is in a way sometimes entrepreneurship, you don't know what the next day brings. In the military, sometimes it's like a 9 to 5. You kind of know what the next day brings. It could be that way. Not every job, but I'm just saying. And so like go out there and challenge yourself. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Military is just a little piece of your life. You have a lot more left to do. So go out there and challenge yourselves.
We have one or two questions in the chat too. So for maybe a student that doesn't know where they want to work or who they are, how do you suggest narrowing down the list of potential companies or industries, places, wherever?
Interview with everybody. Take every interview. Don't decline any interview. Even if you're not deeply interested in the role or the company, you'll learn, right? So I think every interview is a learning opportunity. It's like dating, right? A lot of people have probably dated a lot of people before you decide to get married. So you might go on some bad dates, but you're going to learn some things about who you don't like, and you're going to learn some things about who you do like. And one day you're going to find the perfect organization.
I love that analogy. Anybody else? Good. Jacqueline, you said there's another question as well?
I kind of melded them together.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. So we are kind of approaching the end of our time here. So if there's no other questions, I can't thank you guys enough for joining us, spending your evening with us, and having those really valuable insights from people who have been there and done it. You know, as we talked about, kind of experience being the best teacher, but maybe mentorship being the second best, right? People who have been on that road before. So we will be sending the recording out to everyone as soon as it comes back, and with some of these resources that we discussed as well. So again, thanks so much, you guys, and I hope everybody has a great evening.
Thanks
Thanks.
so much.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye all.